So, why are pastors among the loneliest people? You may not realize this, but pastors generally are very lonely. They oftentimes have few friends and very rarely friends in their church. It's a lonely profession, a lonely place to be in a lot of times. And I'm right in there with them. It's not something that most pastors talk about. It's not something they'll open up about, and I can almost guarantee your pastor is not going to admit it and say anything to you about it. Um, and they probably won't talk to you about things either. Why not? Why don't we have close friends in our churches? Why don't we share with them? Well, there's a lot of reasons, honestly. Um, Pastors have a lot of things that we simply can't talk about. We know what's going on with people. We know not just the good, but we know the bad. We know the ugly. We know the secrets. And we can't share those. There's things called a clergy penitent privilege. We are spoken to in confidence. We can't share them with anybody who might know anything. If there are problems in our churches, problems with people, disagreements with them, um, when we've been hurt, and pastors get hurt a lot. You know, Pastor, I just didn't like that word you preached today. Pastor, why aren't you doing more? Pastor, why don't you fix this problem? You know that person down the road, why haven't you done something about them? We get lots of that. And it hurts and it's frustrating. And who do you go to when you have people doing that? Well, you can't go to other people in the church and say, "Do you know what they did? Do you know what they said?" Because now you're gossiping, and you're now taking that other person, and you're defaming them in front of somebody else in that same community. So we can't talk to people in our own churches about what we're going through in the church. Rarely you will form a friendship with somebody, but even then, you can't really bond in that way. There is always this fear that, if I share just a little too much, they're going to get upset, they're going to get offended, or they're going to feel like they know something they shouldn't and cut it off. Or they won't share with you because, and this happens a lot, you get somebody that opens up to you, you know about what's going on, and all of a sudden they don't feel like they can face you anymore because you know their dark secrets. And so they move on and leave. And you're stuck just kind of going, well, there goes another one. Uh, it's hard. You feel like you take people through struggles and trials and troubles, and you come out the other side and they say, thank you so much. See you later. Uh, and who do you talk to about that? Like I said, you can't talk to people in your church. You've got to have somebody close. I've had people in the past that, hey, if you ever need to talk, feel free to call me. The truth is, I can't just call somebody I don't know. I can't open up to somebody I don't know that well. And I appreciate the couple people that have offered, and if you're one of them, this isn't anything against you. Most of us don't talk and confide in people we don't know well. We just don't. Um, and so I can't confide in people in my church. And again, I'm speaking general here for all pastors. Can't confide in people in our church. Can't confide in other people we don't know well. So we need an opportunity to build relationships and friendships outside, but so often you're confined into the church, or your social networks and ability are built around the church, the community, or trying to bring people in one way or the other. It all gets tied in. And so trying to build a relationship outside of those parameters that's unrelated and that has an openness there is very daunting and hard. Now, I do have a college buddy and a brother in law that I can call and we share and we talk sometimes. But even then, we're so busy a lot of times and there's distance that it's hard. It's hard. Um, so be aware your pastor very likely is lonely and can't confide in those things. And sometimes it's nice just to get invited out to something that isn't churchy, if you know what I mean. Find out what your pastor likes, what they enjoy, what their hobbies are, and then invite them out to do something with that. If they're a Marvel fan, maybe take them to a movie. I know that's kind of goofy. I don't mean just give them the tickets, take them with you. Let them be part of the group. Take them to a sports event if they're into sports. Uh, Take them hunting or fishing if they like hunting or fishing. Let them not be a pastor, but just be a person for a bit. And it will help. Because so often we're not allowed to be people. Pastors get put on a pedestal, and a lot of pastors put themselves on it. And there's this pressure to be perfect, to not let any of your problems and issues show, to not let any of your imperfections show. And if you open up to somebody, they're going to see those imperfections and those faults and those struggles, and they're not going to respect you. And a lot of people fall into that, oh my goodness, my pastor actually has an anger problem, or he's not perfect. I don't want him anymore. I got to have the perfect one. Well, nobody's perfect. As I struggle here. And so we don't like to let people see the real us a lot of times. And I've struggled with it. I've always, I've actually gotten in trouble with pastors I've worked for because I've admitted things I was struggling with from the pulpit or in front of people, and like, don't ever do that. Well, I have to. I need the prayer. I need the support. But your pastor will struggle. And they may not talk about it. They may not admit it. But they need that encouragement and support. They need to be allowed to be real. I know a couple pastors right now that are struggling very hard. This is not me. I promise you, this is not me. But I know one that is working 3 jobs just to try to pay their bills. They're working at their church. They have a couple other things that they are doing to try desperately to make money to pay the bills. They're struggling with their marriage. They're looking for help. They're looking for encouragement, in some cases in the wrong places. It's hurting their families, and they're struggling hard. They need help, and they can't get it, and they can't. It's hard to look outside and tell somebody I need help because you're worried about the judgment and losing the position and losing the pay and losing your ability to minister because you're so caught up in this. And you can't turn to anybody and say, help me deal with it, because you're afraid it's going to expose the fact that you're a real person having real struggles, and it'll lead to a crash. And you see far too many pastors get into that kind of a situation, and then it explodes on them. And it comes out as a revelation in the church, and oh my goodness, we can't believe our pastor did that, or he treats people this way, or he hasn't taken care of his family, and it all comes crashing down because they don't know who to talk to and get help with. And it starts with friendships. It starts with relationships. It starts with being able to not have to be a pastor and being able to just be real. I encourage you, pray for your pastor. Pray for them, encourage them, and find a way to help them get out and not have to be pastor all the time. Find a place where they can go that they don't even have to use that title, but they can use their name and just be who they are. Because when you can get someplace that you're not Pastor George, but when they can just call me George, that's a place I can be comfortable. Help your pastor and pray for them. They need it right now. They really do.